maybe just a word about what stimulated this particular seminar. A friend of mine told me that he took his wife to see A Dangerous Method, the film, and came away from it. He knows quite a lot about Jung. She didn't know very much, and she said, "My goodness, I had no idea that's what they did in those early days of psychoanalysis." And that Jung was, her image of Jung wasn't very formed to that point, and the film made a tremendous impression on her. And that's what film does, of course. It gives you a picture of reality, may or may not be true to the facts. And so I wanted to take the opportunity, talked it over with Steve, maybe to do some reflecting on this film and take off from the film to talk about the early years of psychoanalysis, to talk about the history behind the film, the characters involved, and to give that film a bit of a context. And I think the film, while it's very exciting, very interesting, cannot be shown as a truthful historical documentary. Not that it was meant to be. One couldn't show it to a classroom as a representation of historical accuracy, historical period and characters. In fact, that would be a most dangerous method to try to use this film. In that sense, it is an entertaining film. Some people like it, some don't. I'm not going to comment too much on the aesthetics or the quality of the directing or the acting. I'll leave that to the discussion. I'm now going to ask Angela Graf-Nold, who's a historian of the period, who studied the records of Sabina Spielrein's hospitalization at the Berk-Hulsey Clinic in detail, and who knows a great deal more than I do about the history of psychiatry and psychoanalysis in Zurich, and she will give us a lot of very interesting information about this background. So, Angela.
Thank you. Yes, for me, the film was really strange because the facts I know from this story gave me a quite different fantasy. It's always that facts are here and you always make to the facts, you make fictions, and to the stories, behind the stories you have a history. Yeah. And it is a very interesting thing that the story of Sabina began with a big trunk, a steamer trunk of documents, and although Caritenuto took only some of it out and made his story out of it. And so did all people following, and all made their own stories. And for me it's a funny thing to have a picture that's very different, and the actors, the play, what is in my mind is very different. We have the actors, the ideas, the plot, and the story. And for me, it's a story of the Zurich School of Psychiatry, which didn't begin with Jung. And Jung also was not the real doctor of her, but she was a patient of one of 380 patients in 1904. And therefore the story is quite a little bit different, and I'm interested how you think these real facts, perhaps they also make a modification in your understanding of the story, of the many stories which are around. And that was the staff at the Berk-Hulsey some years before Jung came. It's not Bleuler yet, it's his teacher, his predecessor. The second from the left side, it's August Forel. And he was the man who shaped the whole practical functioning because he was a very multifaceted personality. He was a part of Bockelsley from the beginning. He was an assistant of the very first director, and he became director in 1879 in the age of 30. He was also very young, and this picture is about 20 years later, when he decided to stop working there, because you see he is a little bit tired. He was a very strong man, and he was a big neurologist, and he introduced hypnosis as a first psychotherapy, and he was first in Europe who did this, and he fought in many political things to prevent falling ill. He fought against alcohol because alcohol was the most patients had problems with alcohol. Therefore, he made a big association against alcohol with international scope, and that was very important for him.
I think I'd like to preface what I'm going to say, following on from Angela's talk, is that 70 years on from her death, Jungian analysis is really thriving in Russia. It's something I've been personally involved with for the last 15 years, and there are now more than 35 qualified, internationally recognized Jungian analysts. So I think Sabine Spielrein might or might not have been pleased about that. I've seen the film A Dangerous Method 3 times, and I noted to myself that my interest in the characters, in their relationships, my respect for the actors, the filmmaker, and the scriptwriter has deepened each time I have seen it. So I guess there is perhaps more to the film than meets the eye, although I rather agree with Angela that it didn't affect me emotionally a great deal. I've been asked to present some of my clinical reflections from the film on aspects of the analytic frame, the boundaries of analytic treatment, and the analytic relationship, with a particular emphasis on transference. This is an area, as Murray was saying, that has absorbed me for some years, particularly as for Jungian analysts practicing in different parts of the world today, thinking about the significance of the role and relevance of transference within the analytic relationship remains as hot a topic for dispute and debate as it was for Freud and Jung more than 100 years ago. It's my intention to frame my talk around Cronenberg's film as it has been presented to us, and to use its evocation as my base camp, as it were, from which to explore the analytic relationships as they are lived out within the film, and the unconscious processes of transference and countertransference. I have decided not to enter into the arena of historical accuracy about what is established fact or what is the director's narrative smoothing for dramatic effects. Issues of truth are the territory of Jung scholars, and I will for the most part not address them. However, I do think that this film is a thought-provoking portrayal of the genius, the creativity, and the often lonely struggles of our founding fathers and mothers to research through experience the unconscious and its power to both hinder and foster development. And it's given me the opportunity to review what we have learned about the analytic relationship during the past century, to observe what remains intact and what has changed.